Raising the federal minimum wage has been a policy change I've been politicking for the better part of the last 2 years, and I'm fairly aware of the arguments against raising the federal minimum wage. It doesn't really matter, it still needs to be done. First and foremost, the argument against raising the minimum wage is that it'll raise inflation. Part of me understands why people think this way. I used to think this was the case when I was younger, and I believed the corporate narrative, but it turns out that this is not true. Economists are fairly consistent in saying that raising the minimum wage does not meaningfully drive economic-wide inflation. It's more of a small-scale increase in some industries. The biggest industry that would get affected by the minimum wage increasing is food, particularly Taco Bell and other fast food restaurants, all of which post multiple billions of dollars in revenue each year. There's been rumors that Gavin Newsom has bankrupted calrs Jr. with the $20 an hour fast food minimum wage. While calrs Jr. is a private company that does not post its financials, they're only closing 10 shops, and I haven't seen anyone go to a calrs Jr. at all lately. The quality of their food has taken a nosedive compared to other fast food burger establishments like In-N-Out or even Wendy's. I would blame the general increase in health-conscious consumers who would rather spend more for higher quality food. There's always a line at In-N-Out. The Federal Bank of Boston did research on this and found that an increase of 10% in workers' salary equates to around 0.5% increase in the cost of food. In contrast, beef prices have risen by 13% since last year. I think the reason nobody goes to calrs Jr. anymore is because they're competing by lowering the quality of their food and everyone can taste it. We also know what does increase inflation. The two big inflationary pressures are printing more money and issuing more debt. When you print more money, you add money to the money supply. It's a fairly straightforward concept. About 80% of every dollar bill in circulation today was printed in the COVID era. Additionally, issuing debt is mathematically the same as printing more money. Debt actually creates most of the money supply. I was listening to the Ron Paul report mention this, but Trump added 27% of the national debt, so the inflation is here. It's already happening around us. All I'm asking for is to reflect that inflation in the minimum wage. That is to say that we should take accountability for the inflation we already have done and give the poorest Americans a fighting chance to survive in this economy. That looks like quadrupling the minimum wage, which comes out to around $28 an hour. I know it sounds like a lot. It is, because that's how much money we've already printed. All this would do is increase the velocity of money for the poorest workers in America. The price of rent has quadrupled during the COVID years to reflect how much money has been added to the monetary supply. Everyone is already charging 2 to 4 times as much as they did before COVID. We're not going to burn the money. It would be disastrous to rapidly deflate the economy. Landlords are not going to be okay with charging the same prices they charged before COVID. I think the best plan is to stabilize the inflation where we are now and to keep it at the Federal Reserve's target of 2%. There's really nothing else to say about it. We can't go back in time, and Trump keeps adding debt to our national debt. Increasing wages is the easiest way to tackle the affordability problems we're having as a nation, and while $30 an hour may sound a bit high, it's a good negotiation tactic to ask more than what you need. In essence, it'll be a lot harder to reduce prices on burritos than it would be to pay people more.